With a new Conan film on the horizon, it's Hyborian time we uncover the hidden folklore in the 1984 sequel, Conan the Destroyer. First and foremost, is Dagoth the Dreaming God a reimagining of the Syrian and Philistine deity Dagon, or does he represent the original reclining Buddha? We'll get into it. And what's the deal with Tothamon's castle? Because despite the wily and at times warty wizard bearing the names of two Egyptian gods, his crystalline island abode looks like something straight out of Irish mythology. I'm I.E. Neverday, and nothing hurts me, only pain. Conan the Destroyer provides a blueprint for how successive Conan films could have been made, but never were. While 1982's Conan the Barbarian introduced audiences to the character and his world with its mashed-up mythologies, 1984's Destroyer sends Conan on what amounts to an adventure of the week, harkening back to the character's pulp origins. Screenwriter Stanley Mann and director Richard Fleischer certainly leaned into the campiness more in this one, giving us, for example, the iconic spinning Arnold. But did this new direction affect the film's folklorical accuracy? I gave the original Conan an A in folklorical accuracy, and I'll be giving the sequel a grade at the end of this video. But right now, I need to lie down. Dagoth, the Dreaming God, was invented for the Conan the Destroyer film. True, Conan's creator, Robert E. Howard, did mention a Dagoth Hill in his 1933 story, The Scarlet Citadel, which is where the filmmakers got the name. And it seems likely that Howard had been riffing on the name Dagon, a name he would have been familiar with on account of his friend and contemporary H.P. Lovecraft having penned a story titled Dagon, a story about a stranded mariner who encounters a, quote, vast Polyphemus-like and loathsome creature with, quote, gigantic scaly arms and a, quote, hideous head. Of course, Lovecraft in turn had been pulling from mythology for his monster, and I'm not just referring to his name drop of everyone's favorite Cyclops, Polyphemus, from Homer's Odyssey. Although it is interesting that without his horn, Dagoth looks like he's got an eye in the middle of his forehead, but maybe there's another explanation for that, which we'll get to. But to return to Lovecraft, his story concludes with the mariner connecting his aquatic creature encounter to the, quote, ancient Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god. Come to think of it, the film's Dagoth does look a bit fish-like in his transformed state, with those spinned arms and legs, and lo and behold, if you open your Bibles to Judges 16:23 and 1 Chronicles 10:10 and 1 Samuel 5:2-7, we've got Philistines worshipping a god named Dagon. I even talked about the biblical Dagon briefly in my video on Raiders of the Lost Ark. Outside of the Bible, we don't find a ton of evidence for the ancient Philistines worshipping Dagon. History and archaeology tell us that ancient Syria was the epicenter of Dagon's cult, and those Dagonites, if you will, believed him to be a father of the gods type of figure. And while many etymologies for the deity's name have been proposed over the centuries, including one that posits Dagon means grain, as in the life-sustaining food, the most popular one by far links the name Dagon to the Hebrew dag, meaning fish. This was the jumping off point for medieval scholars to declare that this dude must have been half fish. Now, was he top half fish or bottom half fish? The answer, no halves fish. Because that's not in the mythology, not in the Bible or anywhere else. Even if Dagon's name is etymologically connected to the word for fish, that doesn't mean he's a giant fish monster. And maybe the filmmakers knew that. That's why they didn't go full fish monster. There are no gills, no scales, he doesn't go swimming, and presumably Andre the Giant, who is the actor in the Dagoth suit, knew how to dog paddle. Anyway, the design of Dagoth in Conan the Destroyer is still undoubtedly Lovecraftian in nature. Just look at that face. But in unused concept art designed for the film, Dagoth is finless and has more of an insectoid, Cthulian thing going on. What's more, if the filmmakers had intended Dagoth to be a fish god, you think they would have made him a fish god, and not Dagoth, the dreaming god. Not the god of dreams, mind you, like a Morpheus or a Somnia. There's an implication here that the god's dreaming benefits humanity in some way, perhaps even generating or stabilizing reality, because if you wake him up, oopsie, he might destroy the world. Which sounds a lot like another one of H.P. Lovecraft's characters, Azathoth. Come to think of it, maybe Robert E. Howard took Dagon and Azathoth and smushed them together to come up with his Dagoth Hill. And we can take this a level deeper because it's possible Azathoth, a name Lovecraft thought was hideous despite creating it, is itself a mashup of the biblical character name Azazel, identified as a fallen angel in the apocryphal Book of Enoch, and the biblical location name Anathoth. But I digress. In the film, Conan is able to destroy the dreaming god by yanking off his horn and stabbing him a bunch of times. That'll that'll usually do it, which is fitting given Dagoth the Dreaming God's pose. He's reclining. And which key figure from one of the world's biggest spiritual traditions is depicted as reclining in the moments before his death? The Buddha. In fact, the oldest reclining Buddha dates to 1800 years ago. And what, dear viewers, do many of these reclining Buddhas have on their foreheads? A single horn. A teeny tiny little horn. Okay, fine, it's not a horn. It's an urna, which is usually interpreted as a whorl of hair. Symbolically, it's akin to a third eye, in that it represents one's ability to see beyond the mundane. As for a god turning into a killer monster with a big horn sticking out of his head, Hindu mythology has got you covered. Varaha is one of the 10 primary avatars of the Hindu deity Vishnu. He's depicted as having the head of a boar in the body of a human, and he famously kills demons with his boar tusks. Only he doesn't always have 2 of them. In the Hindu epic Ramayana, Varaha is alluded to as the single-tusked boar. So to recap, Dagoth is a comic horror-inspired god monster with a look and, shall we say, vibe linking him to Eastern spiritual traditions, and a name linking him to Middle Eastern traditions. It's actually a pretty standard mashup by Conan standards, I'd say. Case in point, before Dagoth is revealed to be the movie's final boss, Conan must contend with the dark wizard Toth Amon, played by wrestler and Indiana Jones henchman extraordinaire Pat Roach. He's the propeller feller in Raiders and the big guy in the mine in Temple of Doom. Here he plays the guardian of a magical red jewel, the Heart of Ahriman, more on that in a minute, and the character takes his name from 2 Egyptian gods. Thoth, the Egyptian god of wisdom and writing, amongst other things. I talked about him in my video on 1999's The Mummy, and Amun, the Egyptian god of the air and later the sun. And if you're thinking to yourself, why the heck would a character named for these 2 Egyptian gods turn into an ape monster while protecting his true physical form behind a series of mirrors? Surprisingly, there is a good answer for this. While primarily thought of as being ibis-headed, Thoth famously has the head of a baboon in some depictions. As for Amun, his name means the hidden one, or invisible. Put those together and it's sort of a strange pairing. I'm not sure you needed to put those together. But hey, at least the most maligned sequence of the OG Conan film franchise has some sort of a basis in mythology. Same goes for the Heart of Ahriman, named for the so-called Demon of Demons in Zoroastrianism. Ahriman is seen as the embodiment of the evil or destructive spirit and the primary adversary of creative spirits. So it tracks that his namesake jewel would unlock the thing that could bring about the world's destruction. Even Toth Amon's island abode and princess-snatching Smokebird have parallels in the stories of old. My first instinct here was that this scene was a loose interpretation of the Irish story Cian and Enya, also known as The Birth of Lu, which sees the Fomorian leader, Balor of the Evil Eye, imprison his own daughter, the princess of sorts, Enya, in a crystal tower on an island, only for her to be rescued by Cian, aka Skalbalb of the Tuatha Dé Danann, Ireland's divine tribe. Cian doesn't break into the crystal fortress alone. He has the help of the formidable female druid Birog, who is reimagined as a fairy familiar in later folklore. And I'd be remiss not to mention that the whole reason Balor imprisons his daughter Enya in the first place is because of a druidic prophecy that foretold Balor's future grandson would kill him one day, which does come to pass. Meanwhile, in the movie, the Scrolls of Skelos foretell that a maiden with a special birthmark will be able to retrieve the aforementioned Heart of Ahriman, thus granting her access to the jeweled horn of Dagoth. And this maiden, of course, turns out to be Princess Jenna, niece of Taramis, the Queen of Shadizar, a queen whose name appears to be a riff on Tyrannus, who is a Gaulish Celtic god of thunder. The Romans equated Tyrannus with Jupiter, and it's possible the deity also has a connection to the Irish Turin and the Norse Thor. As for Toth Amon's flying smoke bird spirit that abducts Jenna, yeah, that also has a parallel in Irish folklore, or Gaelic folklore, I should say, because the earliest speakers of the Gaelic or Goidelic Celtic language took their stories with them to the Isle of Man and to Scotland, including, presumably, the story of the Slua na Marv, the host of the dead. In folklore, the Slua is a big shadowy mass of unforgiven souls with bird-like characteristics, and it's infamous for scooping people up and carrying them to islands. No, seriously. To quote Celtic studies scholar James McKillop, they may approach from any direction but the east, usually taking crescent form like a flight of gray birds. They are said to be able to pick up a person bodily and transport him long distances through the air from one island to another. Although they can rescue a man from a dangerous rock cleft, they usually bode no good to mortals. They may be seen after dark and are said also to injure cattle." End quote. At every turn, Conan the Destroyer surprised me. Its campiest, pulpiest moments, the moments that maybe didn't quite fit into the world established in the first film, at least had some sort of a basis in folklore and mythology. My main critique of the film would be the fetch quest nature of the plot. Sure, having to retrieve a sacred item from a dangerous place is a popular folklore motif, but having to retrieve one item so it can unlock the next item so you can then stick that item in a statue's head to awaken the final boss, that's not folklore. That's bad writing. And all that being said, I think that in terms of folklorical accuracy, Conan the Destroyer deserves a B+. But what do you think? Leave your folklorical accuracy grade for Conan the Destroyer in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and one of the best things you can do is subscribe. That really helps. As always, my name is I.E. Neverday, editor of the Celtic Fantasy short story anthology Neon Druid, and creator of the Folklore and Film and Irish Myths YouTube channels. Thanks for coming out. Enough talking.